The Stranger Things Chapter 2 PTB is next week, and it's coming fast. I'm going to go over everything we know about the new chapter so far, including the PTB date, the actual chapter release date, the survivors we're getting, their legendary skins, and the second Vecna coming into the game. We also spoke with Mathieu Cote, and he broke down the differences of the two Vecnas and how they'll both be able to exist in Dead by Daylight at the same time. So slash those like and subscribe buttons, and let's get into it. Next week on January 6th, the PTB for Stranger Things Chapter 2 will be open. And while Behaviour is only said January 2026 and there's no actual release date announced, given DBD's track record of 3 weeks between PTB and chapter launch, I feel it's really safe to assume the actual release date for Stranger Things Chapter 2 will be on January 27th. On New Year's Eve, Dead by Daylight released key art for the new chapter confirming the two survivors will be Eleven and Dustin, which honestly are great choices considering the popularity of these characters. And make sure you let us know in the comments if you think they should have went with someone else. But these survivors will be receiving legendary cosmetics as well. Dustin will have an Eddie Munson legendary skin with his famous Hellfire Club fit, which will undoubtedly be a favorite amongst players. While Eleven will be receiving a Robin Buckley legendary cosmetic, which we'll surely see alongside all the Steels with her Scoops Ahoy fit. I feel like Behaviour was able to check a lot of boxes as far as what the community would want from a second Stranger Things chapter. And that includes the killer, Vecna, who is going to be officially named Henry Creel in the game. Vecna has been craved by the Dead by Daylight community for so long, and he's finally making his way into the fog. But now we have a strange situation for the first time ever in Dead by Daylight, two killers with the same name. Obviously Vecna, also known as the Lich, from the Dungeons and Dragons chapter, is very different from the Vecna character we see in Stranger Things. But still, the comparisons are there, and it's a bit of a weird situation. Especially after the uproar of the D&D chapter release, where players were upset they weren't getting the Vecna that they wanted.
And it was certainly not our intention to sort of pull the rug from under them or mislead anybody.
We sat down with Mathieu Cote and he broke down how both Vecnas can exist in Dead by Daylight together. Let's hear what he had to say.
When Vecna was announced, there was a lot of Stranger Things stuff that was brought up. And I personally think it's, being a big fan of movies, how anyone is mad about source material is just something my brain can't comprehend. And I just wanted to give you a chance to speak on, that disconnect there to where they're getting something that was based on and something that was different.
I'm super annoying to argue with, according to my friends, because I tend to very easily put myself in the other position, and I usually am very reluctant to dig my heels in a position because I know I've been wrong so many times. So I try to be a little malleable about the way I talk about these things. But like source material, you're right. It is the true thing. In this case, Vecna is from Dungeons Dragons. There are no two ways about it.
Right.
But there is a character called Vecna in Stranger Things, and it's a great character. He's called Vecna because that's what the kids call him, because that's their reference point. He doesn't call himself Vecna. That's not his name. He's not a lich. He's not an undead sorcerer. That's not it, right? It's not the same character. It's just a character that's got that nickname in a different format. That being said, I understand that for many people out there, the only time that they heard that name, especially people maybe of a different generation, the only time that they've heard that name was in relation to Stranger Things, which is also in our game. So it's absolutely understandable that they would jump to that conclusion and therefore might experience disappointment because that's not what they thought was going to happen. I totally get that. And to me, it's not a function of being the true Vecna, or no, you should know better. It's the fact that this is what we decided to do. There's no denying that Vecna is part of Dungeons and Dragons, and it was certainly not our intention to sort of pull the rug from under them or mislead anybody in thinking that it was going to be something when it's not. Absolutely not. And it's to be absolutely transparent in this, it would never prevent us to do a chapter and add the Vecna character from Stranger Things. These two can live in the same Dead by Daylight world without a problem, right? Because they're not the same thing. It's not like adding a second version of Michael Myers. It's got nothing to do with it.
Well, since you brought it up, that is another thing that I was wondering, if that does it, argument's sake, and living in a fantasy land, that does happen. Would that be a situation where the Vecna in the game right now would get a legendary skin, or you guys would just go a whole new character?
No, I mean, yeah, this is all theoretical at this point, but one thing that's very clear is that those are two completely different licenses. They live in different worlds. They are the property of two different entities. Therefore, there's no way in hell we would use a license and put a legendary skin from a different IP on an existing license. That's just not a thing.
Right.
And it would make no sense because Victor Creel, I believe his name is in Stranger Things, doesn't use magic, right? He doesn't summon skeletons. That's not what he does. It would make no sense.
Okay, so obviously this interview was before the new Stranger Things chapter was announced, but it's still interesting because this is exactly how what Matt explained ended up playing out. Two different characters from two different licenses, both of them doing completely different things. The Dungeons and Dragons Vecna that we received can still live and thrive in Dead by Daylight and be the Lich and do all the things that he does and remain true to the character that this version of Vecna is in the Dungeons and Dragons world. And the new Vecna that we'll be getting can enter the fog and do all the things that he will do and be true to the Stranger Things Vecna that we see in the Netflix series. And both can coexist, and that's a great thing for the game and the variety that it's clearly aiming for. Another big talking point of all this is the map. While nothing has been officially announced by Behaviour, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a new map location with this chapter. So I'd be interested to see what you guys think of that. From the trailer that was recently released, it looks like we could be getting a different variation of Hawkins' lab, but there's no telling how in-depth this is going to be. Could Hawkins be a realm situation like we've seen with the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter and even the Unknowns chapter, where they're entirely different variations of the Withered Isle realm? And the new Stranger Things chapter could have a whole new wing of Hawkins' lab that we've never seen in the game before. Back in November, the Hawkins lab map received a significant layout rework, which was mostly for balancing, but also had some visual and prop updates. Could that be in anticipation of this new chapter and a completely different variation of the map? Or do you think this rework is all we'll be getting and was to make the map more playable for this new chapter? But now's the important part, what you guys think. Get in the comments and let us know everything. How do you feel about both Vecnas being in Dead by Daylight together? Which one will be your go-to Vecna? What do you think of the upcoming Stranger Things chapter and what we've seen so far? And what questions do you still have about it? And also very interesting, do you think that this new Stranger Things chapter will affect the original chapter? Maybe we'll see more cosmetics for Nancy and Steve. Do you think they'll get more legendary cosmetics added? Get in on the conversation and we'll catch you on the next video. Good night from Slasher Radio.